Dun 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 dun. Channeled message. From where? Channeled message. Channeled message. Where's it from? Within. But now it's coming to you with live no regret. Get your popcorn, fuckers, and get your drink. Prepare to sit a spell. You ain't heard no shit like this. How can I say that? Because I fucking know it. Long ago, the most ancient of us all were like us. Men have skies in their worlds. Men have trees. Men have ladies and oceans and dreams. None are really too different from any other. At least that used to be the truth. Perhaps some of our dumbass ideas triggered their memory. Perhaps it's just the time for such stories. Honestly, I don't know. But they began to download it to me. That what they experienced, and it started blowing my mind because number one, I was sort of thinking about a similar thing in regards to the sun. I began to wonder, or maybe just play with the words of all of it. Children of the Sun, you know that song. What if they surely didn't mean they literally lived on the sun? No, I don't even think they were trying to pretend that was the case. Yeah, but what if it were the case? Well, they probably look a little bit different than us. Yeah, but how would that work if they did? Children of the sun, we are hear you. Well, it'd be so much more different than the way it was depicted, that it has to be, like a... Yeah, I know what it's assumed to be, too. But what if, some point in time, the men or gods, or whatever the hell, that what we be and are still, but what if that brand of men, souls, decided they needed to inhabit the sun? You know, it sounds preposterous. Burn up, you die. You couldn't do that. We're going to land a man on the sun in 2038. We're going to plant our American flag. We're going to use highly flammable resistant fibers. And it'll stay there like an immortal flame, looking ashy, but as a testament to our hubris. I'm going on. So, I started getting this information and it just flooded in my head. I didn't have to think about it. So I'm of the mind in that case, and when that occurs, that this must be Because let me tell you what's come through. Let me get my tobacco. That was re-dip, and I'm not having that shit. Tobacco, you have yes. Sorry, good shit. I can't find it. You're breaking my heart. Why do you want to break my heart? Anyway, back to the story. So, they explained that perhaps, and they're not sure, it didn't ever become determined or found to be the case, but they began to get some hostility from some sort of creatures that they didn't really understand. Some type of shapeshifter, but more importantly, the creature was night, darkness. And it was the first time anything had been encountered like that before. And some of the attacks and setbacks and losses were so fundamentally important to their psychological identities, health, the concept of being a functional being in space-time, some sort of, in a node of time-space. Because it really was the first time that they had a body and then involuted all the way down into it. So they had a good handle on what they were spiritually. They weren't confused or fucked up, but they encountered something that they didn't rightly know, and for all they could tell, there was no real explanation. And mostly anything that they could experience in the existence would be some sort of manifestation of something they understood. And they were creator gods, so, no hidden fucking meaning with that. I mean, literally what I said. Of most things, their understanding was above and beyond. But with this one thing, for some reason, whatever it was, the factored in dissonance of that frequency as opposed to the known frequency of the populace, they didn't understand it. It was completely opposed in almost every way. One thing would be from another. But they were pretty they had ambassadors, and to anything that was not to them known in the mind or consciousness, they would send ambassadors, and they would do their utmost best to make it possible to at least know another branch of consciousness as they understood. The God Spirit was doing this, and they weren't fucked up about it. But now in this other case, with the here and now demonically enchanged Bluetooth devices and all, it still could be very possible for at any time that thing to connect with network that, as far as you know, doesn't exist. But that's not the truth. They found out something horrible to find out. Those networks, those different attempts to simulate are simulating the darkness state, where there's return to a form of formlessness that is a very important step along the way of unity consciousness. Now, maybe not every single entity that incarnates has the same set of experiences, but they're all basically comparable one into another, at least where, we're personalities and all. Now, until this time, even that above and beyond knowledge base, as complete as it was, it made no attempt to even acknowledge these things, and that seemed to really trouble and puzzle the beings at that time. They're like, well, how can this be? They exist, so why is... There's no record of them from anybody. See, this darkness, what could be seen as a mass of darkness, solid, it had a very strange sparkle to it. Because although it did sparkle and cast a sort of astral light upon things, as it were, it was not still utter darkness. I mean, where it was dark, it was utter darkness. The type of darkness where there's absence of everything and it's almost fatal to experience because of what it does to the mind and the part of the soul that, I don't know, is keyed into it already, but so buried is that transatlantic cable, as it were, that it's just out of sight, out of mind. But they found out that it's out of sight, out of mind, but that don't mean mind's out of you. Really what happened was the less aggressive but far more powerful brothers to the ancient gods they were. Then after all the time that had passed, these beings discovering entities they thought didn't recognize that this was their most closest kinfolks as ever there could be. You know, like the War of Heaven, like this specifically mentions this but brief period of time where all the heavens in a war. And it was a really fucked up war. Now, the good team, or the light side, well, I like to call it light side, but this technically isn't the same world. But it could be told from the world that I have, and doesn't need any of this shit. So, as the children of the sun begin to emulate actual stellar life, not like in a weird, creepy way, like they're trying to actually live on the sun, but in a badass, not creepy way, because they fucking pulled it off. Now, they weren't trying to make it a long-term thing, but it just so happens that we saw her the other day, as you know, or at least I remember, I think you know. I don't know who's watching this, so that doesn't always work. Sorry. When people tell you to positively reinforce something and to actively try not to speak negative words because they would cause manifestations, you'd have to experience them. It's not the ideal way of going. That level is already shaking its fist and taunting the student to just produce the means to fucking jump the bridge. And so far, that appears to be the only way that there could be. Because I avoided that book too, because, you know, it was around the time of, well, you know, I don't want to glorify in the death. That's part of the process. It was already pretty bad seeing somebody sick that's an important part of your soul's architecture, the Father. And the entity, we'll call him Father, did actually become a hero and save the day, but not in the way that you think. See, it wasn't that they didn't know certain things, and they were sort of innocent and pure in a way that I'm not going to denigrate them at all. But if you honestly look and see it how I mean this, as I make the distinction, you will notice immediately the correspondences if you have them or if not. Now, does young Jacob have some puzzles and all the shit he needs to play a game here? Or does he have to go dig it up? This is important, necessary information for the question. I'm getting channeling from him, and I'm asking you directly to your face or to the mask over it. Did you hear what I said? Is this thing on? Hello? It may be inappropriate, but were it appropriate and okay, I would take the maid to the little hamper room shed thing and just tear that ass up. Especially she's Japanese and this is her monster contribution to the house. It's an Oni, it's a monster. Just saying. Because we're using it, so we just ought to be accountable. If you have the keys to this monster, please turn them in and don't be a dick. Don't drive and drink. Yeah, buckle up, man. So, it was by sheer coincidence that they couldn't notice, or it didn't make any sense what it was when they saw it. But these beings could take any shape out of that darkness as they wished, and then cool it off and, you know, have a body. And maybe a different cycle, I'll say. But the things that are constant and necessary, they don't change. They really don't. But you're going to find that in this instance, what changed did change. Because of the conditions met of living on the sun, they don't even know anything about shadows anymore. Do they exist? Are they still running wild? You could maybe think of it like that if you're trying to put yourself in their shoes. And it'll just unravel a series after series of series. So many clues and rabbit holes that we're gonna go ahead and set the traps and then carry on, so that in case we fall in and snap our toe and break it as well, we'd have had a fair heads up to the level of danger and its imperceptibility. Did these beings fuck something up? Is that what you're going for? Yeah, they kind of did. They fucked up. They failed to use their power. They failed to recognize their power. And they got their asses handed to them.
by beings who just embody those principles. They don't. Does it get more extreme? Yes, it does. Because by the end of it, the star that you see in the sky, that's mine. That sounds presumptuous. Well, it does. It's not like I get to do anything with that, but if you had a very special bottle with a magical little top container, you would catch demons in it too until you found a more suitable, cost-effective way. What is he trying to say? Hello, how y'all doing? How are you doing today? It's hot as fuck. And that's the extent of it. Except they weren't going to win. By all accounts, it would have only been a couple more weeks, and there would be no more children of the sun. They'd be done, because that's how ill-equipped they were to deal with the night. Now, I don't know if it was a commander, a special genius, or who actually came up with this brilliant idea that affects them to this day. But they did, and it's unknown. It goes to history unknown. But somebody asked the question, they're like, hey, these things that are bothering us, are they like demons that are supposed to be living inside of us, or are they in our skin flesh? What's really going on? Do you have any clues? Because I need those clues. And I'm still waiting on her to come back. And I'm waiting on some other stuff too. But I'm not waiting too hard, because I'm not really waiting. I'm closing my eyes and I'm playing with this Loctite putty. It never gets hard. It never gets hard. It never gets hard. At least it's not my dick. Oh, you snuck that in. I tried to do it quick with a knife. Expressing seriousness and loss of life. Loss of life, it sure as hell looked like they were done. But an idea, a new one sprang, and nothing like this had ever rang through the air as man had spoke, or just within the heads of the common folk. What if we moved upon our star? It may be tricky. It might be a little far from the place that you know and see, but there you live eternally. Now your body'd have to be transformed and such, or you'll just blister and ruin the heirloom hutch that is passed down all the times it's been. Walk on the sun that your ass can't win. Now, if it's not a lie, what they tell is true. That freaking sun's got some shit for you. Massively plasma and magnetized. To go there normal is to lose your eyes. And then goes your mind, not far behind. How would that help? It's not very kind. Well, because it was not a technical solution. I had no blame game. You caused this pollution. At least these shadow people. And the verbiage seems as good. They couldn't fight them there. And that's as it should be. Now, they could take up plasma bodies. They found a way. And it was true that they needed that way. The beings of the shadow and the dark night were not just physically dark. You could feel it right. Even the form, the dark that they be, was not really there. But was property. The thing you keep when you take an oath or make a loan. Was a bill of receipt for ET to phone home. So there's not much talk about the war, and that's probably best. Because if you just consider the opponent as a house guest, to the night, the day was not important or have a meaning. Light's got more choices. And how would life be on the sun? It had a constant feeling. That there was a prize won. They did not yet understand it, how the dark moves. But they knew what they thought before wasn't so. When the first man or child of the sun stepped down, he was forever changed. His perception was enriched, it was enhanced. He had on his big boy pants. Now when you look at men today and evil things. You could not misunderstand. But what such wisdom brings. Is not inclusive. And is not aware. And although you know they had won, it was a dirty trick. To the night children, they had eyes to see. They could clearly tell they had no right to be where they created as the men in skies. They began to wonder, and it terrifies. Not to be in wonder for a man is great. But when you're living on the sun, there's nothing you can't create. You may melt for an instant, and I'm sure you do, but the torture doesn't last. It's already through. What are you saying? Then why you say that way? Because those creatures of the night the path was left and they knew its way. They knew how to exit. And yes, they do. Keeping watch. Of the gate. Became a legend grew. So many tall tales. On the hero's way. These are the real devils. Nearly every way. Not because they're darkness. And yes, it seems. But because they live. And they haunt your dreams. That is not a speculation. It's the truth. these other creatures could not ever break on through. And they felt naked at the first real think. That's all I've got. That's all I can say about it. I was falling asleep too. I'm looking forward to falling asleep in our bed at the right now. Maybe the story wasn't so great, but it's hard to figure out how that actually could be. If, like, instead of being a ghost, just a polarized spirit seeking repolarization in the right way, whatever way that is, which provides me a little paper that says I don't know the way, I have no idea, which it nailed without me having to ask him again for something like my Coke I need. Oh, I know. Oh, I'm not buying it. Them shoes be talking. Wayne's World without Wayne. Take him. Alright. Wayne's World. Party time. Excellent. Get in the fucking cab. So we can drive to some place out of our minds. We will get there too if we have to kick with shoes. I said, find me a date, you old girl. Why am I in this old one? I'm sure the mud butt has something to do with it. Mud butt. Oh. Tell me I'm the new jump leader so I can murder you in the face with my whatever I can shoot that'll murder you in the face. Let me go back home. After waving hi to that falcon. Your guinea. Oh, guinea. Guinea, you so skinny. What you damn do? I want some of that bread, she says, coming through. you doing? Venus? You should pressurize the atmosphere. Like the big fat pussy cat. Meow meow. Like that. Sounds like it came out like gibberish, but I don't think that's really the case. I'm sure some of it was gibberish, but just a touch. Ever so lightly. So get it. It's not like that. I'm gonna get it. It's so sad. I don't know what to do. You start by cleaning up your mess. Oh yes, of course. Wake me up and tell me to clean up a mess. That's not gonna work. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm going to sleep. But why? Because when I go to sleep, you will not know where I tarry. You understand? You won't know. Because where I tarry and where you think I'm at is not the same thing at all. And that's the hidden, actual gooey center of this Tootsie Roll. 1, 2, 3. Story over. If you enjoyed, if you could understand it. It's a true story. Having your grandma. The way she tells it makes you cry. And remember a time back further than your